Should the Bills trade for Myles Garrett? The simple answer is yes, but let's dive a little bit deeper into the situation. So, Myles Garrett has just requested a trade at the time of this recording. He put out a statement that reads as followed. As a kid, dreaming of the NFL, all I was focused on was the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. And that goal fuels me today more than ever. My love for the community of Northeast Ohio and the incredible fan base of the Cleveland Browns has made the one of the toughest decisions of my life. These past 8 years have shaped me into the man I am today. While I've loved calling the city my home, my desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete and win a Super Bowl. With that in mind, I have requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns, signed Myles Garrett. So that basically tells you all you need to know about the situation between Garrett and the Browns organization. Basically saying, listen, you're not winning a Super Bowl here. You have no plans to win a Super Bowl. This franchise is incompetent. Get me out of here. Where do the Bills fall onto this? Well, a couple days ago, Deion Dawkins and Myles Garrett were caught chatting it up a little bit. Deion Dawkins has also said multiple times he's going to try to recruit Myles Garrett to the Bills if there is a trade. And Myles Garrett is a very respected player among Cleveland. I don't know how much this asking for trade changes that, but I would assume Myles Garrett would have a decent say in where he would go. At least, maybe, okay, I don't want to go to these 5 teams. So, if he puts in a good word for Buffalo, maybe that would move them up the list, although this is the same organization that signed Deshaun Watson to a long-term deal. So I don't really think morals or values that doesn't really compute with the Browns, but we'll see what happens with the situation. So again, Garrett, around $19 million he would be owed. The Bills do have a little bit of cap room opening up. Remember, the Diggs money does get kind of divided the next couple years, and Von Miller also took a pay cut as well. I think the biggest reason I say yes to get a guy like Myles Garrett, I'm also open to getting a Max Crosby or a Khalil Mack. They need some talent on that defensive line. And it's not that they don't have talent, it's that they lack consistency on that defensive line. Again, a trade with the Browns would probably include some draft picks, potentially a guy like Greg Rousseau or Ed Oliver, a big-time name on that defensive line. But you're getting a defensive player of the year. You're getting a guy who, I think, 14 sacks last season, defensive player of the year. I mean, this guy is a future Hall of Famer for sure. 29 years old, so still not super old. Again, you'd be getting him towards the second half of his prime. It has to be a priority for Brandon Beane and this Bills team that continue to fall short time and time again. I know this year in the playoffs it wasn't the defense that let us down, it was the offense. But the last couple seasons before that, it has been the defense. And let's be honest, that defensive line is just underwhelming time and time again. I mentioned Greg Rousseau and Ed Oliver. Those two guys, they have big games, they have high ceilings, but where is that all season long, right? They tend to disappear for, multiple weeks on end. Then they'll show up with one good play. Again, statistically, Rousseau had a good year, but when it really mattered, was he getting through? Not really. You look at other guys on that defensive line, A.J. Epinesa, where has he been really, right? 1 or 2 batted passes you'll see here and there, but other than that, just hasn't done enough. You look at that interior of the D-line, they're too small, right? You have Smoot, Carter, again, those two guys very new to the team. I definitely have some faith in them to keep improving, but Ed Oliver, like I mentioned before, in the interior, you don't have size. So I think that D-line needs a complete revamp. Guys like Jordan Phillips will probably be leaving and retiring, although, the Bills, they like to bring guys back for the second half of the season. Overall, this defensive line for the Bills is just not good enough, and it's been known for a long time now that the Bills are going to be open to getting a bigger name on that line, and maybe somebody to replace Von Miller, because Von Miller still has some time left in Buffalo. He said, listen, I want to be here in Buffalo. I want to win a Super Bowl. That's the goal. But he hasn't gotten it done. And I think the last couple weeks of the season was the best version of Von Miller we saw before that injury. And it looks like he's getting better, but really another offseason. I mean, Von Miller is getting older. He's got to go through an entire offseason again. By then, he'll be a full year older than he was at the end of this season. I just don't know. If you could bring in a 29-year-old Myles Garrett, does that include cutting a guy like Von Miller, trying to free up a little bit more money for your offense or for your secondary that's been depleted the last couple of seasons? Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Do you guys think Myles Garrett's the answer here in Buffalo? Do you think the cost would be too high? Do you think they should look elsewhere, maybe for smaller pieces or just bigger superstars? Like I mentioned, Max Crosby potentially getting traded, Khalil Mack potentially coming home to Buffalo. Again, Mack is getting a little bit older as well. well. So are all these guys, though. Again, it's going to be near impossible to find a guy in their prime, and Myles Garrett is one of those guys who's, on the second half of his prime, but still a very, very, very great player in this league. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a like on this video, subscribe, and have a good one. Peace out.